So Johann Fritz was in the Marine Corps and he was picked up from Diego Garcia, then recruited into the Secret Space Program as a Kruger officer at LOC, which is Lunar Operations Command. From there, he was transferred into the Mars Defense Force and later Nachtwaffen extrasolar, which is the sector of the, I guess, quadrant of the galaxy that he was stationed in. And he has done a total of 40 years of service and eventually even made up to executive level management aboard the USS Patton and as well as CEO of the Franklin for another 15 years. Johann is able to remember more than other experiencers because he was able to resist the MK Ultra programming he was put through. You were showing this document, looks really quite fascinating, that was explaining, I guess, the structure of this SSP. So would you like to start with that, I suppose?
I guess first off, what I would like to describe is we were talking about the moon and how all of that stuff sort of operates in general, right? And the first part of it is you have a corporate structure that runs every planet, every planetoid, every known sector. For example, in our solar system, we have a corporation that runs the Earth, a corporation that runs the moon, a corporation that runs the belt, meaning the asteroid belt, Jupiter, Saturn. They all have their different corporations because there are different groups that are in charge of figuring out how to monetize or get trade out of those particular planets or areas. All these guys fall under what's called ICC, the Interplanetary Corporate Conglomerate, as CG would call that. All right, good.
Yeah.
So this was originally, this particular diagram is taken out of what we would call Solar Warden. It was the lead up to SDI, and essentially the way this particular program was run was that they had to have people build up the backbone first off of the secret space program, meaning you had to have bases in order to bring people up there to different planetoids, different planets, different asteroids. These corporations listed on this document were some of the baseline companies where they brought executives, management, and operations people in to do that exact work. They developed technology, they developed ships, they developed base diagrams. More importantly, they had people come in from like Teledyne who actually did work with not only the rocket engines, but actual mining equipment too, what they call tunnel bore technology to create the actual tunnel boring mechanisms they used in some of the underground bases. Now, keeping this in mind, if you were to go on the moon and step into the room where these, and I think James and I kind of were joking around about the ICC and what it actually looks like. And essentially, you have this ellipse-looking table with 9 people sitting around it. 7 of these individuals are what we would call like basically heads of their own programs, and they all come together with the ICC and what's called JDFC. JDFC is the Joint Defense Command Forces, Joint Defense Forces Command, sorry. And those 2 groups essentially have jurisdiction when it comes to bases, ICC and JDFC. But these other 7 programs have to come to the table, let them know what they're doing, how they're monetizing stuff, where they're getting trade from. If they need, for example, base support, you would see a particular program manager notify the ICC during one of these meetings that, hey, we need your ships to stop at this certain base location that we have because we're not getting refresh supplies there. This is where that meeting would happen. Now, you have to understand that these 9 individuals are kind of like mafia dons. That'd be a great way to describe them. Not that they're bad people, but when they come into this room, they're coming in this room and there is a bit of tension between all of them because they're all vying for the same supplies, the same resources, in some cases, the same personnel. And you'll see, this is why you see many experiencers talk about this idea that they've been reused through multiple programs, through multiple sections of time, because what's happening is these individuals are actually being lent out from, for example, from one program to another program. And then, for example, it might be lent from that program to the next program. And this is where you have, like with me, I got lent out among 3 different main programs, and then a 4th final program, which is where I got retired out of, like left the programs. So that being said, this is essentially the structure you're seeing on the screen. Now, some of these companies on this particular sheet, this was published in the 80s. Some of these companies no longer exist anymore. McDonnell Douglas got gobbled up by, I believe it was Northrop Grumman. You had Martin Marietta get gobbled up by Lockheed, and so on and so forth. But what this essentially shows you is the foundation for how the ICC essentially got formed.